Welcome to the show. Hi, I'm Randy Jeffers, and we are live from the entertainment capital of the world, Las Vegas, Nevada. We have a great show for you today because we're going to talk about poop. So let's talk about poop. And we have with us special guest Ron Buffone, the Christian herbalist, all the way from New York area. And Ron, tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, a little bit about your practice.
Sure. I'm an herbalist, and we believe in using herbs and natural healing to bring the body into a state of health where your body's innate intelligence is able to heal itself. And a couple of things we're going to be talking about today. One of them is poop. A lot of people don't understand how important pooping is and digestive health and the gut, so we're going to just go into all that today.
Well, let's just start there then. Tell us about poop and what it needs to look like, all the dirty details, I guess.
Well, obviously it doesn't look like this. This is an emoji, and we try to break the ice with something funny. Even with children, it's important for the parents to realize with their children that they should be pooping as many times as they're eating. So if they're eating, and this is an adult as well, so if you're eating 3 times a day, you need to be pooping 3 times a day.
Wow.
So
very few people do that, right?
No, a lot of sometimes people in our practice, they come in and they tell us they're pooping once a week, once every 3 days, and it's unfortunate because all the toxins are stored, right there in our large intestine, is where all our organs are around. So we get that leaching into there. So I think it's important to just realize that poop does count.
So every time you eat, you need to eliminate it right after that. So how long after should it?
Well, everyone's body is different, but it all depends on the diet you're on as well. Like a lot of Americans, what's called the standard American diet, or SAD. It's really a diet of death, and it's something that's void of nutrition, and it's part of the reason why the country is in such a decline in disease, and we'll probably get a little bit further into that as well. So we talk about the importance of the gut microbiome. The gut is our second brain, and it's arguably the brain that developed first before our thinking brain, because this is a bunch of chemicals, and it started developing within the womb, and it's connected via the vagus nerve. So this and this is always in constant communication. So when your gut health is off, basically your overall health is off. And if you want to look at it like this, we have part of the reason is we go into a lot of counterfeit foods. And what is a counterfeit food? Counterfeit food is something that man has made for the most part. Another counterfeit food is GMO, right? So what did man make? Man made these fast food places, which is void of nutrition, and you have a lot of the GMO foods too. And
I know we were just talking to somebody about McDonald's, and they can't stay away. They just there's a lot of things at McDonald's that sort of are addictive, right? I mean, people just and that's why they're so big, but they're sort of addictive. But there's a lot of things there that probably we shouldn't be eating, huh?
Well, Hippocrates said it approximately 600 years before the birth of Christ, that let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. And I think it's much more true today, because when he put that statement out, there was no such thing as a McDonald's or fast foods. And I'm not slamming McDonald's or anything like that. I don't want anyone to get angry.
Listen, I love McDonald's. Yeah.
But I
can get hooked really easily.
It's quite honestly easy to do that. But it's more important to realize that when you're eating something, whatever you put in your mouth, you're either feeding disease or you're fighting it. So we are what we eat, we are what we drink, we are what we think. So
I guess everywhere you go, in a restaurant, a lot of people eat in restaurants and so forth, but for the most part, no matter where you go, there are always healthy alternatives on the menu. And it's really picking the right things, right?
Sure. There's many things you can do, so I try to eat as clean as possible on the road. It's almost impossible, but, I try my best. And, we talk about even the little things that you put in your mouth. When you have, let's look at the British Navy, for instance, right? I believe it was in 1490s or 1500, all the sailors that would go out on the ships, they would come back literally 80% of the sailors would die. And I believe Magellan in the 1500s lost 80% of his crew.
Wow.
And that was to scurvy. Now,
Vitamin C fixed it. Yeah.
Vitamin C fixed it. But you know why I mentioned the British Navy is because they are called the limeys for a reason. It's amazing how that little lime, that one food, would help save that whole Navy. So once they started introducing limes, and they would literally call them limeys because they would layer lime around their neck and they would, you know, suck on them in order to have their so they wouldn't get scurvy.
That's interesting. Very interesting. So tell us about some of the treatments that you do, some of the ways that you approach some of the people you work with.
Sure. We always try to give nutritional advice, and we try to explain what is real food and what is not real food. Fast foods and anything packaged or anything came with a code is not real food. Today we lost sight of what real food actually is. I'm fortunate that I'm not sure if I did tell you the story off air, but my son had his friend over when they were young kids, and they went and they picked apples, and they had the apples in the shirt, and they came back and they put them on the table, and I'm watching them. The kid looked at my son and he said, went to take a bite, he goes, "Oh my God, are you going to eat that?" So he didn't even recognize what real food is. So real food does grow on trees. It does grow out of the ground. It does have dirt on it. It's not just prepackaged in the supermarket and sprayed with food. So another thing that we try to give people advice is certified and organic and non-GMO. Non-GMO is the way to go. And the reason I say that, GMO foods are very dangerous, and we try to tell people that come to us that are looking for powerful health and wellness that you need to eat non-GMO foods. And the reason is because GMO foods is genetically engineered, and when you have a genetically engineered food, basically it's spliced. However, modern medicine and man in their own wisdom tries to put it together, basically takes that food and they splice it with a gene that becomes resistant to the pesticide that they're going to use. So they spray the pesticide on the crop, and the bugs won't go to it, the weeds won't grow up. But that chemical, one of the main ones is glyphosate. So it's a glyphosate resistant plant, but when the glyphosate goes into that soil and gets absorbed into the plant as well. So what happens now? So that destroys the gut. So it actually kills the gut. So
we can change our health around, and that's a process because it's not easy for a lot of us. But the poop, since we're talking about poop really tells the story, doesn't it? What are the things that we should look at? Should we, when we go to the bathroom and do our business, should we always look at our poop?
Well, that's pretty gross.
That's sort of disgusting for a lot of people, right?
Yeah, it's important to look at your poop. It's more important to talk to your children about poop as well. And one of the things that we do is we consult parents about their children. What are their children eating? What's gut destroying? What's going to do that? So sugar destroys the gut. It helps feed dysbiosis, candida. And when you talk about poop, when a child doesn't poop for a couple of days in a row, now they should watch out for appendicitis. Now, a lot of people don't know what causes appendicitis. Appendicitis is actually caused by severe constipation. So all the parents, if you want to know what to do, you take your finger, put it in your belly button, and you put it on the right hip, and right in between that belly button and the right hip is where your appendix is. So if your child complains that he's in pain in that area, just stop feeding him. That's the first thing. You can give him cathartic herbs that will help him, poop. And then you could actually do an enema. I know it's one of the things that no one likes to hear about along with poop is doing enemas, but that will actually help clear out the severe constipation. It will get the fecal matter away from there, and then you can take a castor oil pack and you could put it right up against the appendix and massage upwards to get that fecal matter out of there, and just keep on doing enemas till there's no more poop in there.
So you can actually keep from having appendicitis or from having an operation where they take it out if you catch it.
Yeah, I mean, you just have to know what you're looking for. So when kids complain of stomach pain, the first question, when my children were young, I'd say, "Did you poop today?" I'm sorry, kids. It's true, but it happens. So parents should ask these questions. We should be engaged in our children's health. We should be engaged with what they eat. Are they eating gut building stuff? Are they eating gut destroying stuff? So this is the stuff that matters when you're talking about poop and consistency and going to the bathroom. When you're eating a standard American diet, you're eating nutrition less food. There's no nutrition in that food. So go back to what God had created. God created these things that grow off of trees and apples, and they're not processed and they're not dead. You look at even, I think we were talking with someone off air about, cholesterol. There's so many studies that show that, higher cholesterol actually comes from man-made carbs. And also for people that's using the microwave, just be aware of that as well. And like I always tell people, Google these things. They're out there. Google microwave, how it changes the food and how it kills the food and how it actually can raise cholesterol levels.
Wow, that's scary.
Yeah.
Because probably most of us use the microwave. Yeah. So back to the poop.
Okay.
It's such an interesting subject. Not that I'm fixated on, but he did bring this. So when you look at your poop after you've been to the bathroom, what kind of color should it be? There's a difference in the size of it. Can you go through that? Explain that.
Yeah, the consistency. If someone's pooping marbles, they're really severely constipated and they're pushing hard. It shouldn't have to be that. It should be a nice, easy motion. A lot of times, too, we sit on the throne, as we call it.
Yeah.
And the throne isn't actually the most efficient way to poop. There's things out there called a squatty potty, which actually lift your legs up so you're at a better angle in order to release that fecal matter. So when your stool is too loose, that's not good either. It should be a consistency color like this. Now, there's times when people poop and they get nervous because they have beets is usually the biggest concern. Oh my God, I saw blood in my stool. No, you just had beets, and that's okay too. There's many different factors when you're eating your food. You're chewing it well. People, we all know the corn story, right? Corn is very hard to digest. So I personally don't eat a lot of corn in the cob. I'm very nervous about corn because a lot of it, even though we say that we get that organic, 90% of the corn crops is GMO, 90% of the soy crops is GMO, and you want to talk about that. Let's sidetrack for that for a second. Now, if that's a GMO crop and the gut is affected, all of this. So your gut health, if you're eating that chicken that ate that corn and that soy product, you're now eating that secondhand protein that's also GMO. So if you're going to eat meat, definitely go for that as well. Definitely go for the non-GMO version of it.
Exactly. So it's kind of scary. Now, how does one know all these things? I mean, it's a lot of things, obviously, but how would the regular person? I mean, what are the most simple things that you should do?
Well, the simple things you do is increase your fiber if you're not pooping, and definitely try to eat cleaner. Fruits, vegetables are great things for that. The standard American diet actually will cause constipation. Don't overeat if you have any stomach pains or anything like that. It's don't eat. We're the only species that when we're sick, we continue to eat. In the animal kingdom, when an animal is sick, they really don't eat. So when you're talking about, poop, let's go one step further. What happens when someone has diarrhea and you go to the drugstore? What would they recommend? Imodium. So now here's your body's innate intelligence saying, oh my God, I just ate something that doesn't agree with me. I just had salmonella. I just had food poisoning of some sort. So the body says, all right, let's flush the colon out. Let's get these toxins out of us. But when someone goes to a drugstore, they might recommend something like Imodium, and I certainly wouldn't take that, because what that does is it binds the toxins up inside of you, so you're not able to get rid of that fecal matter that needs to be ejected and your body's desperately trying to get rid of. As an herbalist, we try to work with the body all the time. And how do you work with the body if you take in some toxins like that? First thing is, don't interfere with the innate intelligence of the body, all right? The second thing is, do not take Imodium. The third thing that you can do is you can help the body flush that out with some more water. But what I personally like to do, and we create a formula, it's very simple for this. You take activated charcoal, you take bentonite clay, you take apple pectins, and you couple that with marshmallow root. So what does that do for pooping? How does that stop this? How is that better than Imodium? Well, let's look at the components in that. The bentonite clay, when you ingest this, and you just take it, you would take that powdered form, you would shake it up in a shaker, and you just chug it all down. And what happens is the bentonite clay expands 50 times its weight. It will get
Wow.
about 50 times weight, and the activated charcoal will actually neutralize those toxins. The pectins will actually help grab metals and toxicity out of there, and the marshmallow root gently helps peristalsis to push that, through. So now you're working with the body's intelligence to capture all those toxins and to get them out naturally and healthily. And what will that poo look like? It'll look like a black jelly poo.
So what kind of let's talk about the meals that you eat, knowing all the things that you know. So what would be a good breakfast to have?
I never eat breakfast.
Never?
I never eat breakfast. I always skip breakfast, and I elong my break fast. Breakfast is break fast. So I try to prolong that fast, and the longer you prolong that fast, that's good for your gut, that's good for your digestion, that's good for your elimination. We're erroneously taught that we need to eat 3 meals a day. I really believe that's wrong. Or a lot of people say, oh, well, I read a book and it tells me to eat 7 times a day or every 2 hours, or I'm going to be storing fat. And that's not true. It all depends what you're eating if you're storing fat. If we're going to go, it depends on what type of diet you're on. There's different types of fasting. There's juice fasting, there's water fasting, there's dry fasting, there's the fast mimicking diet, and we can go into all those, but the simply put, I never eat breakfast, and then when I do break my fast, I try to eat something that's going to be nutrition rich. So I will start off my first meal of the day maybe in a Vitamix, and what I would take is and this is if I'm not on on a keto diet, and you can actually do stuff like this with keto just using different components. But in my smoothie in the morning, I will take a banana, and I will take cacao, and I will take coconut flakes, I will take chia seeds, I will take Ceylon cinnamon, and I will take a bunch of super greens, chlorella, dulse, spirulina. I would dump all of that in. I would put chia seeds in there, and and then I just blend that all up, and it's delicious. And I will stay full for probably about 5-6 hours, and then my next meal will be something a little more heartily. So I'll eat some protein, at that point. And it's important to eat the right ratios of food too. And I think that we're also taught that we have to eat so much food. We, as Americans, we overeat everything. Everything is supersized. Everything is ginormous. We eat way too much, and so we fill up our and so we eat so much, and we have that constipation building up. So diverticulitis, I think it's every male over the age of 50, I think some crazy statistic like that is either in the process of having diverticuli forming in their colon, or pockets forming in their colon. So what I recommend on a, if you're a male over the age of 50, if you want to reduce your cancer by 50%, go for colonic. Colonic is an amazing thing. So you get that, and that's so water goes up the butt, gets all the hard poop, the fecal matter, impacted in there, and you're able to get all that out naturally. Well, not naturally, but with water, but it just opens up the pathways, and you can do enemas yourself. A lot of people don't like doing enemas. Enema is a dirty word, in today's world. And when I grew up, we had an enema bucket. My grandmother and my parents had an enema bucket right hanging on the shower. Was that
hang on the shower? Yep, everybody across the country had that.
And when you were sick, what did the parents do? Uh-oh, here it comes. Here's the enema. And why does that work? Reason that works is because eliminating all those toxins out of your body, and then you stop eating. Now your body has the ability to focus on healing and regeneration as opposed to digestion and processing that food. So where your energy is going is not digesting food to go to the pooping. You got rid of that and getting rid of all the toxicity around the colon as well. So colon health is very important. We can go back to that for a little bit. We talk about what destroys the gut, which is sugar, man-made foods, GMO stuff, anything of the like. But when you talk about what helps build the gut, that's an important thing too, because it will affect how you're pooping. So probiotics are very good. Now, when you're getting a probiotic, it's important that you get something with live active cultures, not at the time of manufacture, but at the time when you're going to be taking it. Some are refrigerated, some are not. So that's one way you can go. And that process is that you're getting different strains of bacteria and culture, and you're putting that in. but that is hard to pass through the stomach because the stomach destroys a lot of that. So then we also incorporate prebiotics. Now, a prebiotic is a short chain sugar, like a fructooligosaccharide, so that, or FOS, or inulin, or chicory, all the like. So when you're taking in that, it's actually a sugar that ferments in your tract, and it actually helps the good bacteria flourish, and that's what actually helps kill the bad bacteria. So the other thing that you can do is fermented foods. Now, I am a big fan of fermented foods, and I'm a big fan of gut diversity.
It's like kimchi.
Kimchi, sauerkraut. Good. What I like to do is teach people, you know, kimchi is one thing, everyone knows that, sauerkraut. Those are the two fermented foods, but what about fermenting it yourself? What about taking ginger root? Want to take turmeric, beets, celery, carrots, all sorts of root vegetables. Take them, put them in a food processor, shred it up into like a coleslaw type consistency, put onions in there, put garlic, and then take a probiotic. And you put that in there as a starter culture. And then what you do is you have that in a bowl, you put some Himalayan sea salt in, and you mash it up a little bit to break the cell walls. And then you'll start seeing the release of some water. When you put it in a ball mason jar, you put the little nipple on top that has the ability to off gas and nothing go in, and then you let your food rot. Rotted foods is what our ancestors used, and that's how they were getting all their gut health. They were so much healthier than us right now. 1 in 2 people are chronic with some sort of chronic disease. I believe 1 in 3 children, this is sad, is obese. It's insane. And you know, so that's real food. You know, we talked about the McDonald's, you know, hamburger earlier. If you Google or YouTube, there's so many things. Google the 10-year-old hamburger, the 20-year-old hamburger, and you will literally see a hamburger with the bun intact, with the meat intact. It didn't rot. So if it's not being destroyed in 20 years, what is it taking your gut to break that down? See, go back to the real foods. Go back to the old school ways. Go back to the God ways. You know, again, Hippocrates said it, let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food. When you're eating a very big gut diversity fermentation, you're seeding your gut with intelligence. We go to school, right? We train our thinking brain. We go to elementary school. We go to middle school. We go to high school. We go to college. We get a master's. What are we doing to train our gut? Yeah. We're doing nothing to train our gut. So the gut health is important. Remember, we have 2 brains, this brain, and they're connected. When this brain is sick, this brain doesn't function properly. Our immune system doesn't function properly. Our hormones aren't in proper balance. Our overall health is compromised. So the more you train your gut brain by putting biodiversity in there, so garlic, anything you can, you know, get in that, you know, jar after shredding it together and putting that and letting it rot and ferment, that's education. That's education for the body, for the gut, and that matters.
So let me ask you about that. So if you have some vegetables that you put in the refrigerator, they're leftovers, and they just sort of stay in there for a couple of weeks, is that part of the rotting food you should eat?
No, not necessarily. Although I'm sure we've all eaten fruits when we grab something out of the, you know, we've all done it. Maybe grab some strawberries out of the refrigerator, and all of a sudden you're looking at the rest of them in there, and you're like, oh my God,
yeah,
you know, like a fungus growing on them. You're not going to die. You're really not going to die. But you know what we try to do is ferment it intelligently. So we try to pick and choose what we're going to ferment. Just remember what I said, and it wasn't me, it's Hippocrates. Food be thy medicine, medicine be thy food. Choose those foods. What does ginger do? You know, it's an anti-inflammatory. It's a digestive aid. It's an anti-nausea, you know, root. So you're taking medicinal, you take turmeric, so you're going to do that. So the one, I mean, we could spend a show on turmeric. So you chop that up, you ferment that. So your gut diversity is taking in all of that fermentation and all of that nice rotting substance. And it's not disgusting. It's, you know, we like salty and we like sweet. These are the two things that we're basically going for today. But we lost
sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet, but we lost sour.
Mm-hmm.
What happened to sour in the mix? Sour is good. In the herb kingdom, there's a saying, the bitter the better. You look at dandelion leaves and all those bitter herbs. It's, you know, great for your organs. So this is what we try to focus on when we're going for the gut, you know, diversity, which helps you poop better.
Now, how about fasting? What are your thoughts on fasting?
I like fasting. Again, I take at least an 18-hour fast every day. I always eat within a 6-hour window. So I might eat at noon and 6 or 1 and 7, just within that window.
Let's say you had your first meal at 5. You're busy all day, you had it at 5. Could you have a second one at late night?
I would just skip at that point.
You'd skip.
I would just skip at that point. I don't. Again, I know that I'm giving my body the proper nutrition within that one meal. There's plenty of people all around the world that are not American and not, accustomed to seeing, all these fast food places around them, and so we don't really need to eat that much and feel like, oh my God, I missed one meal. I need to make it up, or I skipped 2 meals, now I have to eat 3 meals in 3 hours and overeat, and it's just.
Well, I know one of the schools of thought is that you shouldn't eat after 5, but that's hard to do.
For people at work, right? And I get it.
That's because you need a little time before you go to sleep, right? Is that right?
Yeah, you don't want to go eat and then just lie down on that food. You want to be a little bit active. You want to be able to give your body the ability to move and get things moving downwards. It's not sideways. So another thing that we can do to help, with pooping is our stomach needs to have the proper pH as well. We talk about the body pH, and everyone's on this water and that water and raising the pH. I love using lemon and lime to raise the pH of the water. When you're looking at lemon, that will raise the body's pH, and you say, but Ron, that's acid. Lime is acid, lemon is acid. Yes, but it has the exact opposite in the body. It raises the body pH. But now what most people don't talk about is the gut pH. Now, what is the gut pH? The gut pH needs to be between 1.5 and 1.9, and if it's not, we're not digesting our food properly. And a lot of people's stomach pH is not in there. It's usually higher. So when it's not higher, we're eating too many carbs and sugars and all these other things. So we need to lower that gut pH. And how do we do that? Well, I love using cayenne as that herb to do that. And when we're using cayenne, it's an amazing thing. It helps lower the stomach pH. And when you're lowering the stomach pH, you're not throwing up that food. So what happens is when your stomach pH is too high, your stomach tries to digest it can't do it, and then we get that acid reflux. So your body sort of throws it up to bring it down to try to digest it again. So we don't like that. We want it that. Then what most people do is, oh my God, they take an antacid or a PPI, and so the proton pump inhibitors are the things that help keep that acid reflux down, and then the food comes out undigested. And we don't like doing that. We like to try to work with the body to try to help it digest its food properly. And so a lot of people ask, how do I know if I'm taking the right amount of cayenne? How I know if my stomach pH is going to be in the right levels? Learn to listen to your body. So we're just taught to just do our thing and just go into nothing. But if your stool is too loose, you're probably taking too much cayenne, and you don't want that. If your stool is too much, too tight, you're probably not taking enough. But our stomach's designed to dissolve it's like battery acid. If it should be able to dissolve minor little bones and definitely all the proteins, and give our body the nutrients that it needs in order to go forward.
So is cayenne something that people should take every day? Is it a daily thing, or once a week, or how often?
I take cayenne pretty much every day. It's a vasodilator. It's very good for your arteries. It helps with blood pressure. So for me, it's really cheap herbal medicine, if you want to call it that. Just keep your overall circulatory system in check.
Now, this is just the cayenne. You can pick it up at the grocery store.
I personally make tinctures of cayenne, so I do what's called an alcohol extract, but definitely you can take the one in the grocery store too. It might be a little bit harder because it's in the powder form, but you can take start off with a 1/4 teaspoon, put in some warm water, stir it up, and drink it down. But with those little powders, a lot of times it can get caught, and you're kind of and you're constantly trying to cough that up. So, but the cayenne I make, is an alcohol extract. So what we do is we take the alcohol, we put the cayenne, peppers in there, and every day, so we just take it and we shake it. Go back to the closet. Every time I pass by, a couple of times in a day, take it and shake it. I always let it cross at least a full moon. And then what we do is we take it out and we press it. And I use an 8,000-pound press to press the menstruum into a liquid, and then I strain it out, and that's what I use. There's actually stories about cayenne, and I know we're supposed to be talking about poop, but this is important too. The cayenne would actually, there's stories that it would actually stop a heart attack. It'll border heart attack midway through, a stroke midway through.
Wow.
So that should be in everyone's emergency, toolkit. So usually when I'm on the road, I carry cayenne. God forbid I see someone that's, having a heart attack or stroke, I'm going to try to, help them. I'll just get the dropper full, squirt it down their throat, and, help them out. Now, we also can use cayenne for if someone goes into shock, they break their arm, they fall down, they're in so much pain. It's a vasodilator again. You can give them some cayenne in the water, and it just gets their body, just wakes them right, takes them right out of that shock.
How about a seizure? Let's say someone's having let's say they have epilepsy or something and they're having a seizure. Does it help with that? Well,
the herb that I would definitely use for that would be cannabis or CBD. CBD is an amazing, herb, and the one particularly that I'm a fan of is called Path of Purity, and it is one of the only herbs that I know has been pressed into a tablet that has a proprietary process that actually uses a 2-tier delivery system. So it's a 50-milligram tablet of a full spectrum PCR CBD product that's pressed into a tablet. So it's 25 milligrams initially. It's under the tongue, sublingual. So we put it under the tongue, it dissolves, instantly absorbable into the system, and then it has a time release on the back end for another 6 hours. So the product will last approximately 12 hours after ingestion. So you see a lot of the other CBD oils, what happens is you have to tilt your head back, you have to squirt it there, it smells like, pot or hemp, and this is a pretty discreet product. It's just a little tube, you pop it open, put one under the tongue, and you got that covered. So I've witnessed actually someone with a seizure stop seizing, and as a matter of fact, prior to coming to Las Vegas, on my last trip, I had my dog with a seizure, and he basically came to me and he just froze up, and I noticed something was wrong, immediately. I put, it's very hard to get pills down the dog's throat, but at this point it was just so easy. Just put it there, and within about 5 minutes or so, he was just completely fine, full recovery, and we kept him on it. We later learned that probably his temperature was too high, his anal glands needed to be expressed, and the vet was able to do that. And we told the vet about what we did, the CBT, and he was like, "Oh, thumbs up, great." So I think he might be looking for some too.
Fabulous. Well, man, what an exciting field that you're a part of. It's just, it's amazing. Really doing miracles for people, right, on a daily basis. Tell us about some of give us at least one example of somebody that you could sort of consider a miracle.
Oh, wow. Seen so many of these. I think one of the biggest miracle that I have witnessed was a friend of my partner, Dr. John, had come over, and he has some autistic children, and they had come into our office, and we had given them some CBD, and we were doing some PMF and photobiomodulation therapy, which is LED light therapy, photobiomodulation, LLT. It's pretty much light therapy. So we did some light therapy where we were using the LED directly in the eyes to help stimulate the brain. The brain is connected to the eye via the optic nerve, so we were doing that, and then we did some PMF therapy. It was a neurological protocol, and a couple hours later I got a call, and oh my God, listen to this. And I heard the platypus says, I guess they were probably watching a Phineas and Ferb, which has the platypus, Perry the platypus. So that was a pretty big miracle, and we don't see that often, but it's every once in a while you get that breakthrough, and it makes doing what you're doing all worthwhile.
Now, I know you had a personal experience with something. You went to the eye doctor because your vision was getting a little bit where you might need some glasses, and tell us about that.
Oh, I was at the eye doctor. Well, prior to going to the eye doctor, I was driving on the highway, and it looks like I was seeing flashes of light. They were coming at me from the side, so I went to the eye doctor, and he had diagnosed me with, I don't even remember what it was, so all the eye doctors out there, anyone's going to say, oh, it's this. So I went to the eye doctor, and he diagnosed me with that, and then he put what I call the owl in front of me. You know, it's the thing that goes better, worse, better, worse, better, worse, and I think it was 20/80, 20/100 on the other eye, and I was like in shock because I couldn't believe how much my eyes had degraded because I'm busy, I'm on the road. We all have the eye devices where we're reading this close, and then we're looking at the iPad that close, and the computer screen this close, and the TV a little bit further away. So we train our eyes to just look at things in a close proximity. So eyes have muscles as well. But when I was at the eye doctor, he had said, Ron, you're going to need glasses. So I just kept on listening to that wave of like, you're getting older, your eyes are getting older, you're not going to be able to reverse this is sort of impossible to do, and I kept on asking, I don't want to wear glasses, is there any alternative? And then finally I just heard enough, and I stood up and I looked him in the eye and go, I reject your lies.
Whoa.
Yeah, sort of,
I hope he was a friend.
Yeah, sort of. And well, you get to know your doctors, and he goes, it's okay, Ron, you'll be back and we'll get you fitted for glasses. So what I did about is I created an eye formula that's or of a rinse, and we had utilized this in my eyes for approximately a month, and a month and a half perhaps, and I was doing eye exercises as well, because I said earlier, eyes have muscles, so I was focusing on different distances. So I'd take different, I would take a pencil literally and hold it in front of me, and I would focus on that pencil. Now Randy would have two heads, then I would focus on Randy, and then the pencil would be two. So I was picking different distances. Just like we work out our muscles, our eyes have muscles too. We need to work them out. They have paddles that, the presbyotic paddles that you can do this training as well, but a lot of people don't have that, so I told people to do eye exercises. And it actually, when I went back to the doctor, he said, are you ready to get fitted up for glasses? And I'm like, yeah, I am. So he put the owl back on me, better, worse, better, worse. And at the end of that, he was literally, that's impossible. You have 20/20 vision, and nothing in my world is impossible. And the formula that I created, like I said, I'm a Christian herbalist. I give the glory to God in everything I do, and I believe that we should all try to tune into that greater wisdom that comes from above. And I do believe God gave us everything here in this world that we need. I believe that herbs are very powerful, and if you look at Hippocrates, like I said, he believed in herbs and using food as medicine, and that's confirmed in the Bible. Let the leaves be for medicine, and in certain versions it says let the leaves be for healing and the fruit be for meat. So I believe in utilizing herbs as medicine. So Hippocrates said it, I'm not claiming it. So the bottom line is that that formula had some berberine in there, which is a disinfectant. It also has cayenne in there, so it's a vasodilation. So we talked about cayenne earlier.
That must burn.
It's got a little bit of a bite, so every once in a while I make a batch that has a little bit too much cayenne, but I still go for it. I try to use the eye rinse at the time I was using it every day, several times a day. Then now you get lazy again, and you go and you try to do your life, and life happens around you, and so you do it a little bit less, and that's unfortunate. But now I'm back on track. So we all go through cycles. The thing is to just try to every day try to do something towards your health. Try to push for it. We're taught a lot that we don't have to work towards our health. Do what you want, eat what you want, don't worry. And when you're sick, the modern medicine's going to just fix you up.
Right.
And it's not that I have anything against modern medicine, but I always tell people you have two choices in life. You can actually take control of your own health. It's a novel concept because that means personal responsibility. or you can give that privilege away to someone else who's a doctor. And I'm not saying doctors are bad. I don't want this to be that. I just want everyone to be empowered to do that. I'm sure a lot of doctors don't want to see a lot of these patients with all of these things when they can just simply eat better and do things better. And then for the doctors that aren't trained in that, unfortunately, a lot of modern medicine practices, the doctors that the training they have is only about, I think, 12 to 17 hours of nutritional training, and that's unfortunate. Oh. Especially with food being such a big factor in that. And I think that when we start thinking differently, let me take control of my health, let me rinse my eyes, let me work my body out, right. Let me eat the right foods, let me think the right thoughts. I always tell people we are what we eat, we are what we think, and we are what we drink, right? The placebo has been effective in 30% of clinical trials, approximately, and yet the hypochondriac will get sick even more. So what's in your mind? What do you have to reject in order to gain your powerful health? So when someone says to you, you know what, you can't get better, don't believe those lies. There's always an alternative. There's always a natural way that you can always explore to try to get that powerful health. If you feed the body right, if you treat the body right, if there's nutrition in, waste out, exercise, diet, breathing proper air, there's different things that you can, exercise with. Exercise within your own body's phenotype. Don't try to be this big, monster that you're not meant to be. But you have to start somewhere.
Man, this is fascinating. I wanted to just ask you, I know we're just about out of time here, but what about alcohol? A lot of people have been told that a glass of red wine is once a day is good for you, and if it's one glass is good for you, maybe 5 are better, but that's how a lot of people think, right? What are your thoughts on alcohol intake?
I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I do on occasion, like maybe once a couple times a year. I will drink at New Year's, but I don't overindulge in anything. That goes for anything in life. If you want to try to get that, maybe go for the grape juice if you wanted to go for the benefit of that. And I'm not talking, like the processed sugary drink, just an all natural, grape juice. And there's many things you can do for yourself. I'm a very big believer in juicing. So I love juicing. I have a Super Angel juicer. It's a dual stainless steel auger, and that definitely gets powerful nutrition in you. Powerful nutrition for the eyes.
How about the sugar in the juices? Is that bad?
I try to drink as little sugar as possible. Yeah. So I will go.
Grape juice has a lot of sugar, right?
It does, but you don't have to go for like a 24-ounce glass of it. You just go for a little bit, if you're looking to get the antioxidants, you can probably do it in a lot of different ways. You can actually just eat the grapes.
How about citrus?
I like citrus. I love lemon. Lemon, lime. Again, we talked about the limeys.
Oranges.
And oranges, grapefruits. Yeah, grapefruit.
Oranges a little different.
Yeah, oranges have a little bit more sugar. So
okay.
I will combine. Some great things you can do with citrus is you can take oranges, you can take lemon, you can take grapefruit, you can mix them with digestive enzymes and drink that down and help get rid of mucoid plaque, in you. So you can use a lot of these things as medicinals. So that's what I, certainly believe in, and that we use food as medicine.
But it's sort of the greens that you want to sort of concentrate on, right?
I love the greens. Yeah, greens. For me, when I'm juicing, I will do a beet, which has some sugar in it, but I use the beet tops as well. I will use spinach. I will use ginger. I will use some lemon. And so I believe, it's quite got a little bit of bite, but even if you want to juice something very powerful, if you're sick, if you have the cold or the flu or anything like that, you could take some ginger, some garlic, and some onion. Juice that. Take that. Maybe a teaspoon, half a teaspoon every couple of hours. That'll kick your diseases butt.
We're on our hour. This just went so fast, but thanks so much for being here, and we'll look forward to the next time. We'll have you on again, and I'm sure many times, I hope, because we could just talk about this for hours on end. But thanks for being here, and we'll see you next week, same time, same station. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.